define some medical terms, so make sure that you have your Unit 2 word list right in front of you as we do this. So let's review what we learned about defining terms. So first, let's make sure that we break them into their individual pieces. So first you need to look at a term and decide if there's a prefix, and what is it, a root, what is it, and a suffix. So pulling them out into their 3 potential individual pieces is the first part of defining any term. Then we want to define each of these word parts separately. So each on their own will have their own definition as defined by the word part. So you want to make sure that you do that. And then we can define the total term. Now, if you go back and remember from Unit 1, and you can go ahead and rewatch the videos on defining a term if you need to as a review, you want to start your definition with what the meaning of the suffix is, right? So if, for example, if the suffix is itis, I-T-I-S, that meant inflammation. So you want to start your definition with the term inflammation and then fill in the rest of the definition there. Don't forget that you can add filler words, ofs, those, right? Things that don't dramatically change the definition of a word can be added just to make it make more sense in your language. So here's tips. Go ahead and grab your worksheets. When the word is presented on this screen, try to break them down yourself. Even if you have to pause the video, right? Make sure you're hitting pause on the video. Really attempt this yourself before you watch the answers. And it's okay if you don't get it perfect the first time. You're still a student. This is only Unit 2. You are totally new to this, so cut yourself some slack. You do want to see if you've gotten the correct answers. You know you're on the right track with your studying. If you didn't get the right answer, watch how the word breakdown occurred. This will help you learn through your mistakes. There's a lot of learning to be had, even when you make a mistake. So taking the attempt to do it by yourself first before just looking at the answers is extremely helpful for you in your learning process. These 2 sets of units do build on each other. So make sure that you not only have your Unit 2 word list in front of you, but that you have your Unit 1 word list in front of you as well. Again, all of these units build upon each other in the things that you are learning. So make sure that you understand what is happening in Unit 2 before you move on to your next one. All right, this is the first word that we're going to take a look at and break down. So the term is pronounced androgen. Androgen. All right, I have a student. Her name is Sue, and she has turned in a breakdown to the word androgen. Here it is below. She has that the prefix is andro, that the meaning of that is male, the root term is geno, and that it means beginning or origin, and that there is no suffix. She has her definition as being the beginning of male. Do you think that this is the correct breakdown? Why or why not? I'll give you a moment, or you can pause the video in order to tell me if Sue got this answer right and if I'm going to mark this as correct. So hopefully you realize that Sue made a mistake, and that's okay. Sue's still learning, and that's why there are people here to help. So let's look at the correct answer and the minor mistakes that Sue made. So again, let's look at the term androgen. In this case, there is no prefix. Andro, A-N-D-R-O, with the combining vowel is how it is written on your word list. So remember when you see that combining vowel, that helped us to identify it as a root term. Sue was absolutely correct that andro does mean male, so that she did get correct. The suffix here is gen, G-E-N, and Sue was correct that it was the beginning or the origin. So Sue had the correct definitions of the word parts, she just didn't have them in the right spot. And again, androgen is the beginning or origin of male. So how can we tell what these word parts are? This goes back to a bit of a review, and rewatch some of the Unit 1 videos if this is still a tough topic for you. So looking at gen as the suffix, gen, you will notice that there is a dash in front of it. And when there is a dash in front of it and in the word, you can see it comes at the very, very end. Okay, you can tell that that is a suffix. There are two pieces that help you decide it's a suffix here. So the dash in the front and the fact that it is the end of the word helped us to decide that it is a suffix. Andro comes more in the middle of the term, and it has the combining vowel of the O. So remember, when you see the combining vowel and it's more the middle of the term, that is designated as a root term. So this helps you to put it in the right slot. All right, again, Sue had the correct definition here, the beginning or the origin of male. And an androgen is a hormone that is found in males and gives male characteristics. So it helps to create things like facial hair and male features. Let's define another term. The next term you're trying to define here is carcinogen. Carcinogen. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to break down the word and then come back to see if it matches what we have below. All right, so carcinogen does not have a prefix, so we don't have a meaning. However, new on Unit 2 word list, you do see the term carcino. Its meaning is that it is cancerous. You can also tell it's a root term not only by the combining vowel, but the fact that it's in the center of the term carcinogen. The suffix here is gen, G-E-N. It has the dash in front of it on your word list, and it's found at the end of the word. And just like the last term, its meaning was beginning or origin. So let's do a total definition on the term carcinogen. So remember that when we're defining a term, we want to start with the meaning of the suffix. So in this case, we want to start with the words beginning or origin. You could choose one or the other. You could choose both. They essentially mean the same thing, but we do need to start our definition with the meaning of the suffix. So we're going to say the beginning of cancer or the origin of cancer. And a carcinogen is something that causes cancer, would probably be more commonly as we say it, but it originates or starts cancer. So in this case, we had the same suffix of gen with a new root. This is why we want to understand word parts and not practicing full words or just memorizing full words. When you have to learn full terms, you have to memorize thousands upon thousands of terms. If we're reusing different root terms and reusing different suffixes and just scrambling them up, by memorizing those individual pieces, it becomes much easier to understand terms that you have never seen before. So make sure that you understand your word parts and practice your words. Let's look at another word and its definition. All right, the new word is blepharitis. Blepharitis. Just so you know that in the English language, when we're looking at things with a PH in them, so B-L-E-P-H, we pronounce that PH like an F. So the pronunciation of this word is blepharitis. Go ahead and hit pause if you need to and break down this term to get its correct word parts and definitions. So there is no prefix to this term. The root term here is blepharo. Again, remember PH is pronounced as an F sound, blepharo. And if you look at your word list, it is defined as the eyelid. The suffix here is itis. We have seen this in Unit 1 and Unit 2 now. It is a common suffix. So itis refers to inflammation. So let's take a look at the definition. So again, remember that we start all of our meanings and our official definitions with the meaning of the suffix. So we're going to start our definition with the term inflammation. So in this case, it's just inflammation of the eyelid. Again, you can add filler words to make it make more sense in the English language. Blepharitis. So do you remember the spelling rules? get some bonus points if you do. So when we looked at things like carcino and gen and blepharo and itis, what was that spelling rule that related to the combining vowel? Do you remember what we talked about earlier? Hopefully you got the correct answer. If a suffix starts with a vowel, remember that we drop the combining vowel in order to spell it correctly, and that this only applies between a root term and the suffix. Doesn't apply to other components. Okay, so make sure that as you are spelling words correctly, that you are either keeping that combining vowel if the suffix starts with a consonant, or you are dropping it if it starts with a vowel. Let's define another word. Remember that practice makes perfect. Hydronephrosis is the term. Hydronephrosis. Again, remember that that PH sounds like an F in pronunciation, so hydronephrosis. Hit pause if you need to, and then look for the answer. So in this case, there is no prefix. However, there are two root terms. So hydro, H-Y-D-R, with the combining vowel of O, was also found on Unit 1 and Unit 2. And nephro, which is new for Unit 2. So nephro. Hydro means water, and nephro means kidney. So in this case, we do have two root terms in this word. Remember we said that we could have multiple roots in any given term? Well, this is an example of that happening. The suffix here is osis, O-S-I-S, and if you look at your word list, this happens to mean an abnormal disease. So let's take a look at the definition. And again, just as a reminder, we start our definition with the meaning of the suffix. So we're going to start with the terms abnormal disease. And in this case, it's abnormal disease of water in the kidney, on the kidney. Either one of those would have been okay. You do have to be cautious here. There are two root terms, and so you want to make sure that you represent both root terms in your definition. It would have not been acceptable to just say abnormal disease of water or just abnormal disease of kidney. Because both root terms are part of this term, you must include both in your definitions. So you must say abnormal disease of water in the kidney. So make sure that both are represented here. Let's look at one more. Histology. Histology. Go ahead and hit pause if you need to before you look at the definition. All right, there is no prefix in this term. However, there is a new root term. The new root term is histo. Histo is how you pronounce that. And that happens to mean tissues. Tissues are things that cover the body, like your skin. We'll take a look at that in a future unit. The suffix here is logy, L-O-G-Y, logy. And if you remember from Unit 1 and now again in Unit 2, that meant the study of. So let's take a look at the full definition of histology. And again, we need to make sure that we start our definition with the meaning of the suffix. So we're going to start our definition with the words study of, and in this case, it's just the study of tissues, the tissue, right? Any filler word of that nature would be fine. Hopefully you got that correct.